Hi, everybody.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Well, it's getting cold outside, and as we all know, my power wanes in the cold, so I am barely holding on by a thread.
That's neat.
I don't care for it.
I mean, I don't either. And I think it probably gets colder here than it does there, and I'm gonna freeze solid.
You say that, but you often underestimate our weather.
That's true. I just think that because I'm further north than you are, I guess.
Yeah, but you also don't live in wacky weather world.
Excuse me. Everyone lives in wacky weather world these days. That's just the planet Earth. It's, one part of the globe it's torrential blizzards, the other part of the globe it's a forecast of literal walls of fire.
I had to sneeze. Hold on. Okay, it's gone.
Okay, cool. And
That's been happening a lot too. It's because of the damn cold.
Are you allergic? I didn't know.
I am allergic to the cold. I thought that was very obvious by the fact that I turn into a shriveled raisin. Like a dead Dracula.
Speaking, nice segue. Welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club, the show where it's Halloween all year round, but only in October.
That's not true. It's always Halloween in my soul.
Yeah, but we don't let your soul on the show.
No, that's not allowed. They chase us out of town with pitchforks.
Your soul's busy menacing Kirby right now.
Why Kirby?
Oh, I guess you haven't played many of the newer Kirby games, huh?
I haven't played any of the newer Kirby games.
The recent Kirby games almost always end with you having a boss fight against the villain's soul.
Oh.
Yeah, that's become a running theme in Kirby now.
That's a thing that Kirby does, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, Castlevania.
What a great segue into Castlevania.
Yeah, sorry, I've ruined...
Mostly related to Kirby.
I've ruined your Dracula segue from earlier.
That's what I expect of you.
Let's play the opening. Castlevania was a game that was released for the Famicom, also known as the Nintendo Entertainment System, in 1986 by Konami. We talked about Konami before because they also made Twinbee.
Remember Twinbee?
I do remember Twinbee. We have to go back to
Remember
Twinbee.
We went to hell.
I forgot that we went to... Yeah. We broke it. We broke Twinbee, and I don't even know how we did that.
I do. We were using cheat codes.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Mystery solved.
We were using cheat codes that we didn't really understand, I think, was the issue.
Yep. Just kind of plug something in and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think, if I remember rightly, what happened was that we went to a stage that didn't exist in the coding. So we ended up with a load of garbled graphics. For anybody who would like to see that, it's a stream that we did, which is archived on my YouTube channel, Skull Pirate Mike, if you'd like to see us break Twinbee.
You would also like to go to hell and hear the screams of 1,000,000 souls writhing in agony.
It was fun.
Yeah, because then we saved Grandpa.
We did save Grandpa. That's right. That's what we were trying to do.
Cheat our way to the best ending.
So, in Japan, Mel, you probably know this, but in Japan, Castlevania is called Akumajo Dracula.
That's the one. That's the man.
It means Demon Castle Dracula. The original game was directed by Hitoshi Akamatsu, who approached the game like a film director. He said that he wanted to create something cinematic that had the feel of a classic horror film. But this show draws mostly from Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, known in Japan as Akumajo Densetsu, which means Demon Castle Legend.
I'm still stuck on the fact that we're supposed to get classic monster movie vibes from a Nintendo game.
Yeah, well, that's what they were going for. I guess it's the best they could do at the time.
For sure.
But I guess that's why, because it's got a lot of classic movie monsters, right? You got Dracula, you got Frankenstein.
Was Frankenstein in the early ones? He comes and goes.
I believe he was at least in Castlevania 3, which is what this show was based on.
Okay.
So Castlevania 3 was the 1989 prequel to the original. At the time, apparently, Konami was prioritizing development of Ninja Turtles games, because that's where all the money was coming from. So Akamatsu was very specifically trying to outdo the Ninja Turtle games with Castlevania 3. I looked him up. He's apparently very elusive.
Dracula?
Akamatsu. Hitoshi Akamatsu. He made Castlevania 1 to 3. And he also worked on Snake's Revenge, which was the non-canon alternate sequel to the original Metal Gear. It was made without Kojima. And he also worked on an arcade Asterix game, and he worked on Goonies 2, which I've heard of a bunch, because apparently it was really good, but I've never played it.
No one has.
There were rumors I came across that due to poor sales of the early Castlevania games, he had been demoted to working as a clerk in one of Konami's game centers, and then he quit Konami altogether.
Oh no!
But
and look at Dracula now.
But I looked into it, and his move to the game center was several years after Castlevania 3. And he'd been working in the arcade division before that. But nobody knows if he moved to working in the game center voluntarily or not. Some people think that he chose to do it. Some people think that he was pushed to do it. But he quit the game industry entirely in the 2000s, and nobody seems to know what he's been doing since. He seems to be reclusive.
If I were him, I would be raising an army of Hellions to assail Wallachia.
Yes, but that's what you do anyway.
Listen, don't tell people about my hobbies. I don't want them judging me for them.
I did find an interview where somebody he used to work with said that in the late 90s he had asked Akamatsu what he thought of Rondo of Blood after it came out. And he said that he hadn't played it, and he was more interested in Final Fantasy VII at the time.
I mean, he bet on the right horse.
Yeah, I think he just kind of moved on from Castlevania after he stopped working on it.
After they burned him.
Yeah.
At the stake.
So the show, Castlevania, which first aired on Netflix on July 7th, 2017. Everybody knows what Netflix is, right? I didn't take any notes about Netflix.
You didn't go into the deep and sordid past of Netflix?
No. So this show has 4 seasons and 32 episodes. And apparently they've announced a follow-up series. Did you know this?
No. Actually, I think I did. I think you told me. What happens? I don't know. Where am I?
They've announced a follow-up series called Castlevania Nocturne, which is going to focus on the adventures of Richter Belmont.
Oh.
Which means you'll be getting your Symphony of the Night series, I assume. He was that, right?
Sort of. You play as him for the first 5 minutes, and then you're Alucard for the rest of it.
Oh, really? Well, that counts.
You're not the showrunner.
Listen, if they don't include Symphony of the Night, I'll walk to Netflix and I'll kick their door down. And then I'll say, oh, is this just a big server room? I'm sorry to bother you. So this show was originally conceived in 2007 as a direct-to-DVD feature film. The biggest surprise to me was who made this. This show is produced by Frederator Studios.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Do you know who they are?
Of course I know who they are.
Okay.
I was alive in the 2000s.
I was just checking. For anybody who doesn't, Frederator Studios were the studio behind Fairly Odd Parents, Adventure Time, Bravest Warriors, and Bee and Puppycat, along with a bunch of other stuff. I think they did Fanboy and Chum Chum. I'd never seen that, but...
Me neither.
But yeah, it's produced by them, and it's so unlike anything else they've done.
I had to watch it on Netflix because the thing that you gave me wasn't working, and it probably would have worked if I downloaded it, but I was like, that's a lot of work. I'm just gonna open up Netflix. It's 2 tabs away.
Were you having trouble getting sound on it?
No, it just didn't load.
Oh, right, okay.
It said that there was an error.
When I first tried to watch it, I was getting picture but no sound, but I managed to fix it.
No, I didn't even get that far.
Okay.
I noticed at the end there was a lot left after the credits, and I was like, is there like a next week's episode happening? So I fast forwarded and saw the Frederator logo. I was like, what?
Yeah. Frederator and also Powerhouse Animation, who I knew for the epic Mickey cutscenes. They did the cutscenes for DC Universe Online and the cutscenes for Sonic Origins recently. And apparently they also did OKKO, the Cartoon Network show. So none of these things are really in step with Castlevania.
I don't know what you're talking about. Swearing and Draculas and boobies? That's exactly what all of those things are.
I guess it shows how versatile these studios really are. So this show's written by Warren Ellis, who is an extremely prolific comic book writer. He's written a lot of... He's well known for a lot of Moon Knight that he wrote. He wrote the Iron Man Extremis story, which became the basis for the third MCU Iron Man movie. He's written a bunch of Batman stories. Apparently he wrote Dead Space.
The game?
Yeah. And
I like the first 2.
Well, I think he only wrote the first one.
First one was good.
He also apparently lives in my hometown, which I wasn't prepared to learn. And he is more recently known for the wave of sexual abuse allegations against him.
That's fun.
Yes. Apparently around 100 women came forward. There is a website dedicated to his... To calling him out on his shenanigans.
That's real fun.
Yeah, shenanigans is probably too flippant a word to use for that. But the website is called SoManyOfUs.com.
Oh, that's a horrible name.
It sure is. There's a lot of them. He is no longer involved in the Castlevania franchise. He seems to... Anything. Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like he's no longer involved in anything, really.
It sounds like that's for the best for everyone around him.
Yes, that's a lot of women.
That's entirely too many.
The website says that there are over 60, but an article I read about it said around 100, so I don't know what the exact number is, but like 60 is too many.
Any number above 0 is too many.
Any number above 0 is too many, but any number above 5 is like a mega yikes, I think.
That's like an oof.
Yeah. So anyway, apparently Ellis worked with Koji Igarashi, who is the Castlevania producer now, to make sure that the movie fit into the series timeline properly. Igarashi demanded 8 full rewrites of the pre-production material. So I guess eventually they landed on something he was happy with. And at one point the movie almost became a live-action movie. They had approached Adi Shankar around 2012. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. But they approached him around 2012 to direct. He is known for his Bootleg Universe short films, of which I have seen 2. The first one, which was about Punisher, which was really good. I've seen that because my friend Elliot showed it to me, because it was what he wanted a Punisher movie to be like. And I knew nothing about the Punisher, but I was like, that was a pretty good short film. I enjoyed that. And then I've seen the newest one, which is a dumb edgelord Pokemon short film.
Cool.
Which I did not like. It was like a dark ending to the Pokemon anime, and it was just very edgy, very like this was made by a 14-year-old in 2001 feeling.
This is my first fanfic.
Yeah, except it was made in 2019.
That could be your first fanfic in 2019.
I know. But
How many fanfics have you written?
I just feel like that style of fanfic had gone out of style by 2019. But then
How many fanfics have you written?
Recently?
Ever.
Oh, I don't know. 27? How many have you written?
I would say 1.
Oh, yeah? What was it about?
Well, what were your 27 about?
Oh, I don't know. Pokemon, Sonic the Hedgehog, Kirby, Zelda.
Anything and everything. They all come together and they have picnics.
So anyway, Adi Shankar is also, he was an executive producer on Dredd recently at the time, which is why they offered it to him, I guess. Dredd being the Judge Dredd reboot movie. And he's apparently currently working on Assassin's Creed, Devil May Cry, Hyper Light Drifter, and PUBG shows. PUBG.
You just dropped a lot of babies on my doorstep, and I don't know how to pick them up with my 2 arms.
It's a lot to deal with, right?
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of conflicting emotions that I had reading that list.
I think I went through all of the stages of grief.
But he turned down doing Castlevania because he felt like it wasn't right for live action. But when the show finally got into production, he did come on as a showrunner, so he is involved in what we watched here. He just didn't direct it.
Neat.
Eventually, over a decade after the script was written, Netflix picked up the show, and the script was changed a little bit to fit the format of it being a show rather than a movie, but apparently it wasn't changed very much.
I imagine they had to stretch it out quite a bit.
I don't know, because it's not that long. There's only 4 episodes of this season.
There's only 4?
Yeah.
I was thinking that there were a lot more than that.
No, the first season's just 4 episodes.
Wow.
So that could be a movie.
I've seen the first 2 seasons, but it's been a long time, and I also slept through a lot of season 2.
Season 2, I think, is longer.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Because we dedicated like a day to it, and I got way too drunk, way too fast, and slept through the second half.
That's fun.
I had fun.
I'm going to flag up Grant Dynasty here. I think that's how you pronounce the name.
What about him?
He's a playable character in the game, but he was left out of the show for 2 reasons.
He sure was.
One of the reasons he was left out was to save time, and the other reason is because the writer thought he was stupid. There's a couple references to him apparently throughout the series, but he never actually appears. At one point, somebody has like a throwaway line about a pirate who has a boat on wheels. And that's like a reference to him, but that's it.
Poor Grant. At least they put him in Symphony of the Night.
Here's the episode. It's called Witch Bottle. And we open in Wallachia. Is that how you say it? Wallachia?
Wallachia, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's pronounced both ways in the show, but mostly Wallachia.
Wallachia sounds more correct, yes. It's a real place. It's part of the area that 400 years after this would become Romania, because this is taking place in 1455.
To this day, is the Sea of Impaled Skeletons still there?
You know, I'm not sure. Yeah, when I said this is a real place, I was just talking about the name, and I had forgotten that we are introduced to the place here as a sea of skeletons. Impaled.
Well, they say that Dracula was based on Vlad Tepes, a real person, Vlad the Impaler.
Oh, so is that what they're getting at here?
Mm-hmm.
Because Tepesh is his last name here, right? I'm pretty sure they say that.
Yeah.
Right.
And Vlad is his first name. His name's like Vlad Dracula Tepes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I guess I missed that. Well, there you go then. Yeah, that's probably what they were going for then, making a deliberate reference. I guess we're not directly told, but we're very strongly pushed to believe that he has just been doing this to humans for a long time because he hates humans for some reason.
Well, yeah. They're kind of the worst.
That's true. I guess, yeah, it definitely... I felt like it made it pretty clear that he hates humans because they won't leave him alone.
Well, that among other reasons. The first episode especially is not subtle in how it handles subjects like the peasant class or the church.
Oh yeah, for sure. But there's a lot of bats hanging around with these skeletons.
It was a pretty cool scene. That's
Yeah.
how I like to spend my free time.
What? As who are you, the skeleton or the bat in this scenario?
I'm just the person having a picnic amongst both of them.
So are you Lisa here walking through?
The fact that she is just unbothered by this.
No, the first time we see her, it's through the cleaved body of a bat that she's just stabbed in half.
Yeah. What did that bat ever do to you, lady?
Yeah, it was just hanging out.
Maybe she was just trying to get some hearts so she could regenerate her sub-item points.
Maybe. There aren't any walls around, so she can't punch any full roast chickens out of them.
Right. She's like, well, I've got this axe, but I don't have enough hearts to throw one, so...
So she's going somewhere. There's a sunset and there's a castle. Those are the notes I made.
A real big castle.
Oh yeah, and it's all clockwork. We get to see the clockwork running along the sides of the castle.
Yeah, even from the outside, we can tell that this place is much more technologically advanced than everything else.
I read an interview with the original creator. Or it wasn't. It was just like I read something that the original creator had said, where he had said that the clockwork was supposed to represent like Dracula's life force. The clockwork is like Dracula's beating heart. And that's why in the game, when you defeat Dracula, all the clockwork stops.
I was just gonna say, is that why every game has a fucking clock tower full of Medusa heads?
That too. And I think it's in Castlevania 3, or maybe it's in the first one, when you defeat Dracula, only the clock tower crumbles and the actual castle is left standing, and that was supposed to be like a sequel hook to say, you know, you've taken care of Dracula for now, but you haven't taken care of everything.
Because now the Medusa heads are flying everywhere. They're no longer contained.
Do you just free them, or do they stay with the ruins? Are they just like, oh man, my clock tower?
I mean, they just fly in a straight line, so I assume they're circumnavigating the planet until they touch something and turns them into stone.
And what they touch is just each other when they finally meet at the other end of the planet.
But then they just fly right through each other, because I've seen it happen.
Oh, really? Okay. I don't know. See, you're the Castlevania expert here. I've never played one.
I haven't played like any of the old ones because they're too difficult. I'm not too ashamed to say that. They're difficult. Nintendo games for the original console are not possible.
I was also reading about how Castlevania 3 is harder in the Western version.
Why?
Yeah, for some reason, I think all the enemies in the Western version do like double damage to what they did in the Japanese version for some reason.
Oh my god.
It's like a reverse Lost Levels Mario.
Yeah. I have tried to play older Draculas. I bought, I think, Dracula X. I have that on my 3DS. I've played emulators of the other ones. They're just not possible.
I like the Clockwork Castle. It's cool.
I hate it.
Okay. Well, we've got the full range of opinions.
That's where the Medusas live.
Lisa here is wandering through the castle with her knife out, and Dracula shows up too. They have
he's being a real creep.
Yeah, well, I think he's just assuming that she's there to try and kill him, right?
I mean, I assume that the whole thing is a show to weed out whether she's worthy of his time or not, but he's still a creep.
Oh, really? I took it as like he's used to everybody who comes here being there to kill him, so he's just like taunting this person he's about to kill. But then once he realizes that she's actually not interested in killing him, he becomes interested and starts kind of like a cat playing with a mouse.
Perhaps.
That was the way I took it. Lisa is played by Emily Swallow, who we recently saw. Not in anything we watched for the show. She was in something that we watched in our free time together.
Flight of the Conchords?
Yes, she was in Flight of the Conchords.
Who was she?
She was Becky, one of the members of the water polo team who, when they were on tour, they tricked them into giving them their room number so they could charge all the drinks to their room.
Oh, yeah.
And then they sang the song about mermaids. She was one of the water polo team girls.
Cool.
She also apparently played Emily in Last of Us Part 2, which I still haven't played. Amara in Supernatural, which I've never seen. And she plays Armora in Mandalorian. I haven't seen The Mandalorian.
Me neither. I'm not a Star Wars.
No, me neither. My brother would know. My brother is always trying to get me to watch The Mandalorian, and he's like, I know you don't like Star Wars, but you'll like this. It's a really good show. And I'm like, Joe, there are other really good shows that I could watch that don't expect me to know anything about the Stars War.
But does it really expect you to know much, or is it contained enough that you don't
If it expects me,
understand?
I don't know, but I feel like even the title expects me to know what a Mandalorian is, so. And I do know what a Mandalorian is, but I'm mad that I know what a Mandalorian is.
It's an instrument, right?
Yes. No, it's a car, Mel.
Oh, sorry. The idea of a mandolin has been burned into my memory ever since that episode of Dexter's Lab where they played D&D.
I don't remember it. I need to watch through Dexter's Lab again. There are so many old shows I need to watch again. I just finished watching Goof Troop again, which is wild, by the way. I haven't seen Goof Troop since it was originally on in like 92 or whatever. And I have spent my entire life remembering it as just this slice of lice slice of life show about a boy and his dad and their angry neighbors. But it turns out, like, as an example, one of the last episodes I watched was about Pete getting a computer, and Max and PJ wanted to use it to play video games, but he just wanted to use it for business. And you'd think that's what the whole episode would be about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But 5 minutes in, Pete gets turned into a fly, and then he spends the rest of the episode in the backyard finding out that there's a fly uprising about to come and invade his house, and he's trying to warn the neighborhood.
I'm sorry, is this in the cinematic universe of Maniac Mansion?
Oh, I guess Disney owns Maniac Mansion now, so maybe it is.
Is Uncle whatever his name is, Frank, Harry, one of
Uncle
those? I
Harry,
don't
that
know.
was it.
Uncle Harry. Is he the leader of the Fly
He
Uprising?
should
Him
have
and his
been.
girlfriend?
He should have been. The design avenue that they took for Pete as a fly was the exact same avenue they took for Frank, so.
You mean they just put his head on a big foam body and filmed him not doing anything?
Yeah, I guess so. No, there's a bit more to it because they could draw it, but not much. Anyway, Lisa wants to be a doctor.
Does she at any point turn into a fly?
I don't think she has time. Well, you know, there's 20 years of adventures they have that we don't get to see, so who knows?
I'm pretty sure you kill a fly man in some of the Castlevania.
She wants to be a doctor. She believes in science. I don't think that she believes that he's a vampire. I got the impression that she doesn't believe in vampires.
I don't think... Well, it sounds like there is a divide between the peasant class believing in Dracula as a myth and then, like, the educated class that does not believe in him.
Yeah. I'd say that's accurate. But because she's taken no precautions against vampires and she seems to kind of like scoff at the idea of them. I don't know if they would work, but she didn't do any of them anyway.
I think that depends on whose lore you're going by. I just finished reading Salem's Lot, and the vampire in that predates Christianity, but he's hurt by Christian items so long as you actually have faith in God.
Ah.
So as long as you have faith in something, you could damage a vampire.
So it's like Discworld rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's heard that Dracula has scientific advancements that the rest of the people don't have. And, you know, looking at this castle, I could believe it.
I mean, looking at his lab.
Yeah. Dracula is played by Graham McTavish, who apparently is best known for playing Dwalin in the Hobbit movies. But I knew him from a bunch of other stuff. He played Ackerman in Red Dwarf, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen that, Mel, but if you live in the UK, you've seen it.
Well, I don't live in the UK.
Do you know what it is?
No.
It's like a sci-fi comedy show.
That kind of Red Dwarf.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty funny. He also played Ferguson in Prison Break, which I haven't seen. But here's a couple that I did know and was surprised I knew. He played Savanti Romero in the 2012 Ninja Turtles series. But most importantly to me is that he played Scrooge McDuck's dad in the 2017 DuckTales show.
For some reason, it's weird to me that Scrooge McDuck has a dad.
Yeah, well, in most things, his dad is dead. In the 2017 DuckTales show, they made it that his parents had been cursed with immortality.
What is 2017 DuckTales doing?
It's really good. I should make you watch it at some point. Because you like Gravity Falls. If you like Gravity Falls, you'll like DuckTales, I think.
What a weird sentence.
It's like Gravity Falls, but Donald Duck is there. It's a fun show. He also apparently is currently playing Sir Harold Westerling in House of the Dragon, which I'm pretty sure is the Game of Thrones spin-off show.
Yes.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Game of Thrones.
The first, 2 episodes.
Were they good?
I didn't really get into it.
Yeah, it's not really my jam. Or my jelly.
No.
Yeah, the impression I got through this scene was that he was, taken aback by how open she was with him.
Yeah, because again and again, they give us this idea that he thinks of her as a snake oil salesman, just a shaman waving a stick around. She's like, no, I want to practice actual medicine.
And it seems like the whole time, at least in the beginning here, he's not really letting his guard down. Like, he's expecting a trick. like when he talks about how like maybe she's filled her blood with silver or has garlic or whatever.
Well, she did have garlic.
I might have eaten some roasted garlic earlier. Was that rude? It was all I had left.
She encourages him to travel, and he shows her his science.
I did like that Dracula had the same thought I did, where it's like, this woman has just walked into my castle and she's telling me to go out and travel. Who even are you?
Yeah. And then I guess she convinces him to help her try to make the world better.
Well, he doesn't care about that part. He just wants to teach her science.
Yeah, obviously. It's clear that like any making the world better is because that's what she wants to do, and he wants to give her what she wants to do. Because like now we flash forward to 20 years later and they're married. So and we're in, I looked up how to pronounce this. Targo Vista, I believe, is correct.
They pronounce it in the episode.
Oh, well, I looked it up before then. And it's 1475, 20 years later. Targo Vista was the capital city of Wallachia back when it was its own country, before it fused with Moldavia and became Romania.
This is a lot of history for a show about Dracula.
I know. And it doesn't tell us any of this in the show. So
No, it doesn't.
I went away and did a history lesson just for the show. You're welcome, everyone. Now you know some things about Romania 800 years ago. Is it ever going to be important to you? Is it ever going to affect your life? No.
Maybe if Dracula shows up at your door and quizzes you.
You must answer me 3 questions about Wallachia, or I will drink your blood.
Suck your blood.
However,
Also, please let me in.
yeah, I was going to say, can you please invite me inside?
I just need a yes. That's all.
Vampire jokes. So Lisa's being burned as a witch. Right off the bat now.
They really jump from one scene to the other. She's already in the fire.
Yep. And there's a bunch of priests around her chanting, holding crucifixes up.
They're doing it for the good of mankind.
Of course.
In the name of God.
I hate people who do things in the name of God.
I hate people who burn witches in the name of God.
Just anything. Scenes like this, they really rile me up against. And, if you're religious and you believe in things, that's fine. I'm sorry. But I hate the things that have been done in the name of your religion over the centuries. Because this is real. That's what makes me so angry, is that this is real. This is a real thing that people did.
Yeah, it went on for quite a long time in history.
And literally all she's doing is being a doctor. She's just a doctor.
It's because she had really thin glass in her house.
Is that what they said?
So there's a scene between the bishop and the mayor where they're giving us the back and forth so we can kind of understand how we've gotten to this point. And the bishop says that she has witching things in her house, and among them names some really thin glass.
And glass in shapes you've never seen, thin as paper.
As proof of her witchery.
God, what does that even mean?
I guess because it's beyond the capabilities of what most people are able to produce at the time.
It's got to be just like test tubes or something that they found, and they were like, I don't know what this is for. Witchery, I guess.
I guess this is where she puts the fetuses.
A beaker for beaks.
How would he know what it's called?
I don't know. Maybe she labeled it. Like an old, old 60s Batman where they would just have a label on everything in the Batcave saying what it is.
I was going to say like she's trying to learn another language, so she has it in French on it.
Yeah. Like that, remember that game I bought on Steam that was supposed to help me learn Japanese?
Oh, I have that game too. I got it for free.
where you just wander around this apartment and you look at things and it tells you the Japanese word for it. I guess you can get it for tons of different languages, but I had the Japanese one. But I'm just wandering around looking at things and everything is just like wardrobe. And I'm like, great, thanks. Calendar. Oh, good.
I think about that sometimes because I remember one time you found a box and it was just called boxu, but there is a word for box in Japanese that's in common use.
That's what was really frustrating, because I know there are words for most of the things in the game, but it was just giving me the borrow words. Yeah, the loan words. So annoying.
Are you telling me that this video game on Steam is not certified as an actual language learning device?
There's a new one out now which is similar, where you take photos of things to find out the words for them, and I'm tempted to try it to see if it's any better.
I think I saw that. It's called like Shashingo or something.
Something. I don't remember what it's called at all, but it just recently came out. I remember it being announced in one of Nintendo's like indie showcases that they do.
But what if you start taking pictures and all you see on it are ghosts, and you find out it's a camera obscura and you're actually playing Fatal Frame?
That would be incredible. I feel like a lot of people would be disappointed.
I would not be.
No, I would be. I think I would be initially disappointed, and then I'd be like, all right, well, let's find out what this is then. I think I'd have a moment of like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. But then I'd get into whatever it actually is.
You take a picture of the night outside. You can't really see anything, but a name pops up. It's a ghost.
Yeah. My favorite game. No, I want skeletons, actually. That would be my favorite. So Lisa's burning up, I guess.
Yeah, she's being burned alive.
And she's calling out to Dracula to not hurt them because they don't understand.
Even as she's being murdered by these people trying to protect them because they're ignorant.
Yep, and she knows that they're all going to get slaughtered.
And they're all going to deserve it.
Yep, the priests think that she's calling out to Satan. They're really
Not far from it, but
they're really into this Satan idea.
Yeah. It's like everything they do, it's all about Satan. Like they got a crush on him or something.
Does Satan exist in the Castlevania universe? Do we see him?
I am not sure. I don't think I've ever personally fought Satan.
Okay. I'm just wondering because I feel like this is kind of setting up like, these silly priests, Satan doesn't really exist, but at the same time, later on, he is summoning an army from hell. So
I have fought Beelzebub. He was in Symphony of the Night, and he was a giant rotting corpse with horrible poisonous bees around.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you had to knock all of his limbs off.
I was reading about, you know how when you beat Dracula, he turns into like a monster thing?
Mm-hmm.
I was reading about how the original creator had said that second form actually isn't Dracula. That once you beat Dracula's first form, that is you beating Dracula, and the second form is actually like the ugliness in mankind's hearts made flesh.
That's pretty metal.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. I don't know if that's still canon. I feel like people who've taken over the series later have embraced the idea that is just another form of Dracula, but it wasn't intended to be originally, apparently.
Come to think of it, there are a lot of enemies named after demons. So, hell for sure exists,
Okay.
but whether Satan is there...
So maybe everything we've heard about hell is true except Satan himself. He's the one part of it that's not real. Anyway.
He's the one part that they want so badly to be real and he's not.
Yeah. So this is where the opening happens. And I thought it was nice. I thought it was pretty.
It's pretty cool.
It's very artsy. It's all black and white. It looks a lot like the actual Castlevania, like, official art for the games to me. It was super weird to see created by Warren Ellis on the screen. Because, like, yeah, he wrote the show, but he didn't create Castlevania, and he didn't even, like, come up with this plot. It's an adaptation of Castlevania 3, so...
He didn't invent Dracula.
So, like, written by, sure. Created by, that feels like a stretch.
That's taking some liberties.
Yeah. And this is where Dracula's just kind of strutting through a town with a bag.
Yeah, he's dressed like a real man now.
He doesn't know what happened yet.
And neither do we really, because Dracula's just been out traveling, and then he walks home to a smoldering pile.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty clear that it was the ruins of Lisa's house, but at first I actually thought more time had passed. It turns out that no time has passed.
About it not being clear. Like,
right.
Obviously that's something important to Dracula, but we have to wait for this old woman to come and tell us what happened.
Yeah. And she's quite sweet. She's a nice old lady. One of the few people who hasn't gone to watch the witch burning, I guess.
She was a Lisa stan.
She was. She liked this lady. She was friends with her. She tells Dracula...
She didn't believe she was a witch.
Which, you know, accurate. So she tells Dracula what happened, and Dracula cries some blood.
Yeah, he did the thing. He did the song.
Did the song?
Bloody
Bloody Tears, of course. You gotta remember that I mostly only know Castlevania through you.
Yeah, but you also know Bloody Tears and Vampire Killer.
I do. I was actually...
You talk about them, like, all the time. Every time we talk about Dracula music, you're like, I heard it live!
Whoa, I heard Vampire Killer live. Wait, actually, it might have been a medley. It might have had Bloody Tears as well. I don't like that one as much as I like Vampire Killer.
Well, that's because you're wrong, but you're allowed to be wrong.
Well, you take Vampire Killer. No, you take Bloody Tears, and I'll take Vampire Killer, and the divorce will be settled.
I already have Bloody Tears. I have a shirt with that on it.
The words or the...
The words. It's got like a bleeding skull and some of the sub-items underneath.
Oh, nice.
Got it at MagFest.
That's cool. I've never been.
You wouldn't.
What do you mean I wouldn't? Dracula's all pissed now.
Yeah, he engulfs himself in Dracula fire.
Oh, he sure does. Yeah, he becomes the Human Torch.
And he explodes.
He tells the old woman to leave the country with her family, and that's his last kindness to humans.
He saved one woman.
Well,
to be fair, she deserved it.
He says that's his one kindness, is letting her get away, but then he gives everyone else a year, so...
He does, but I think he's aware that nobody is going to heed his words.
Yeah, they sure don't. So, meanwhile, back at the charred corpse of his wife, everyone's having a good old cheer about the death that they've just witnessed. I don't know that I could watch someone burn to death.
I absolutely could not. That's disgusting.
It's super disgusting, but
that's one of the worst ways to die.
Yeah, it would be horrific to watch. And yet, historically, I know that hundreds of people have stood and watched that happen.
It was just their entertainment.
Ugh. Can you imagine?
No.
This is the kind of thing that people get therapy for these days, and back then they were doing it for fun.
Well, nowadays we have gore sites.
That's true. But I feel like people still get therapy for those.
Some of them.
Some of them.
Watching a video on that the other day, and some people in the comments were like, I got addicted to it. My mental health was so bad.
Yeah, it can't be good for you. But hey, I guess we already know that previous generations are pretty much exclusively fucked up.
There was no alternative.
Like, the further back you go, the worse the... You think your parents are like... you see your parents and all their mental issues and they think they're fine and they're not. And then you think about the fact that they're better off than their parents. And their parents are better off than their parents were. Like, the further back you go, the more fucked up people are and didn't realize it.
I don't like to look too far into the past.
No, it's not
a little depressing back there.
Not good for anyone, really. No matter how bad you think things might be right now, just, look back 100 years.
Just think, you could have been burned alive for being a woman.
Yeah. Like, back then, people would just be like, my husband looked at that woman. She's a witch.
She cast a look at her spell on him.
Meanwhile, the woman being accused is like, who are you? I've never even met your husband. Well, we'll set fire to her, and if she burns, she wasn't a witch. And if she doesn't burn, then she is a witch, and we'll kill her another way. That's the worst thing about all the witch trials to me. It's like so many of the ways that people died were actually just like, oh, I guess she wasn't a witch.
Mm-hmm.
But she's
she
dead
died
now.
a good Christian death.
So fucked up. Anyway, the priests are here. They're saying creepy priest things that I didn't pay much attention to. I have a real hard time listening to priests.
They're not real priests, right?
I know, but even they felt real. Even though they're like cartoonish caricatures of evil priests, it still felt too accurate to me.
I mean, it's the usual stuff. Satan this, God that.
Yeah, the archbishop is dying or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what they were talking about. And the crazy bishop is like, there's so much evil here on Earth. I never want to die. I want to kill witches forever.
That's right, because the mayor was like, I guess dying and going up to serve God is the best thing for you guys. And he was like, no, I want to stay here and kill all the witches.
If there's no more witches in Wallachia, then God will move in and we'll be best friends.
I understand what you meant, but my mind took it as like, that's what he's afraid of. I'll never get rid of the guy.
He's so needy.
But yeah, no, he was saying that like Wallachia could be heaven itself, right? If they got rid of all the witches or something.
Mm-hmm.
Ew, what a creep. I don't want to be in heaven.
If the bishop is there.
Yeah. So this is when they are faced with the 50-foot apparition of Satan. I mean, Dracula.
I loved this part. Because Dracula is a flaming skull yelling at them, and the bishop is like, you're not real.
I know, it's so funny. It's like a 20-foot burning head, and the bishop's just like, you are not real.
I believe in a lot of crazy things, but this is just a group hallucination.
I'm a Christian, which means the evidence of my own eyes is not enough.
But you...
Dracula gives the humans 1 year to evacuate Wallachia before he starts wiping them out. And then he smashes all the cathedral's windows and rains fire upon the city.
That was a great moment. I really felt that for Dracula.
Oh, for real. Like, I love some, like, righteous anger. Some real, like, righteous vengeance.
Some righteous hellfire.
I was surprised he gave them a year.
Me too. I would have been like, all right, you got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But he does have a reason for a year.
That's right. It's like his last gift to her or something, isn't it? It's like...
No.
That's
how long it takes to summon an army from hell.
Oh, is that what it is? Because he says...
It's a technical limitation.
When he's talking to them as the Flaming Skull, he says that he's doing it because because his wife loved them so much. So, like,
but as soon as he hangs up the phone and Alucard comes to be like, Dad, what the hell?
Oh, is that what it was? He was like, that was him on the phone?
I think so.
I didn't take that in because we cut to him and he's standing in front of those crystals. And I guess it didn't occur to me that was like right afterwards. But yeah, I guess those crystals probably were what he was using to talk to him.
Yeah, using his magic mirror.
That makes way more sense now, because I was just like, what are those crystals? Yeah, he starts talking about summoning his army from hell. And yeah, so that is Alucard who comes in, huh?
Yes.
Because it's not made clear in this episode, but I assumed it would be.
On account of it's his son in his castle.
Well, they don't actually tell us that. The only hint we get that they're like connected is that he says that he's also mourning for Lisa's death, but we're not told that it's his son or their son or anything. It's just a white hair guy in the castle.
We are not told that he's a vampire.
That's true. Yeah, we're not given the name Alucard, but I did assume that's who it was, so I have researched, and Alucard is played by James Callis, who it turned out I knew because my mom is a huge fan of Bridget Jones's Diary.
And he plays Bridget Jones.
No, he plays the baby. No, he plays Bridget's best friend, Tom. Who does not seem to have a last name. He is just Tom.
So if they got married, her name would just be Bridget.
I want to say he's gay, but I don't know if that's accurate, and I couldn't find anything on the internet saying one way or another. Did you know that Bridget Jones does not have a robust wiki?
I find that shocking.
Me too.
I feel like there are a small but dedicated number of Bridget Jones fans out there, and the fact that none of them have really dedicated hours and hours of their time to painstakingly getting every detail of Bridget Jones in print shocks me.
I mean, if they're anything like my mom, it's because they don't know how to use computers.
I feel like there was a younger fan base for those.
Yeah, probably. But I've never met them.
Have you asked?
No, I
When
haven't.
you introduce yourself to people, do you say, "Hi, my name is Mike. What are your opinions on Bridget Jones?"
No, do you think I should start?
I think you should start.
That's going to be my new Tinder opening line.
Ask me about Bridget Jones's diary.
I don't know anything, but I'm interested in what you know.
I'm expanding the wiki.
He also played Dr. Gaius Baltar in Battlestar Galactica, which I've never seen.
I've seen a handful of episodes, but the names did not stick.
No, it's that kind of show, I feel like. I always get Battlestar Galactica mixed up with Stargate, which I did watch some of. But I only ever watched Stargate while I was on a treadmill, so I never paid attention to it.
You were trying to run through the Stargate?
What would happen is, sometimes I would be at the gym, and it was the wrong time of day for me to watch SpongeBob on the treadmill. So I would watch Battlestar Galactica instead.
You mean Stargate?
Yes! See, I told you, I keep mixing them up. They're basically the same show. I'm sure they're completely different.
I'm sure they are.
So now it's... Oh, no, wait, hang on. So Alucard tells him not to summon all the hell monsters.
He's like, "Dad, you know if you do this, you can't just put them back."
Yeah, you can't just put them back in hell. And he also says that he'll fight him if he does it. And Dracula charges at him. And we see that some blood is drawn, but we don't really see the results of it. I'm assuming that that's a fight that Dracula won, since the Hell Army ends up being summoned, but...
Do you really think Alucard could stop Dracula?
I don't know, because Alucard... I feel like they're both, like, super badasses, are they not?
Alucard's like 10 years old.
In, like, vampire years, or...
He's Lisa's son, so he would be like in his 20s.
That's true, yeah. He could. That's the oldest he could be, right? Is exactly 20
Yeah.
years old.
Meanwhile, Dracula's been farting around for millennia.
Yeah, and also the only way Alucard could be 20 is if they literally conceived him the night they met. So yeah, I guess you're right. He's probably like 15 or something here.
Infant baby.
Anyway,
I do think it's important to point out that Alucard also says he shouldn't summon the demons because they would kill a lot of innocent people. And Dracula's like, none of them are innocent.
Yeah.
None of them stopped my wife from burning to death.
Yeah, literally, like that's what he's after. Those are the exact people he wants to kill.
The ones that stood around and clapped.
Yeah. You're going to kill a lot of innocent people. Yes, they are included in the everyone that I want to kill.
Oh, but don't worry, you're not.
Yeah, well, he's not a human.
He's half human.
He's what's the word for it? A dampier or something? A dampier? Half vampire, half human? It's something like that.
I am not sure. He's an Alucard.
So it's 1 year later, after the burning of Lisa, and
It is a Dampier.
I was right.
In Balkan's folklore.
I knew something. Okay, thank you for checking that for me. So now it's 1 year later, and all the idiot humans are having some kind of idiot festival.
They're celebrating the day they burned a woman alive.
They're celebrating the day that they were told they were all gonna die.
Right. Because they assume that since nothing happened the second it turned a year later, that they've beaten Satan, that it was all lies and God wins. And as the Archbishop is giving this rousing speech, the skies are darkening.
Yeah. The Archbishop's eyes are like pointing in different directions like an Invader Zim character as he's making his speech.
He's this fat, nasty sack of garbage.
I loved how, because it really did have that same feel that Invader Zim goes for a lot with where it wants to make the humans look really stupid. And it felt like they were doing the exact same thing with this guy, just with the expressions he had as he was making his speech. But then as his speech ends, it begins raining blood. Of course.
The Slayer song starts playing.
Weird demon fetuses start falling from the sky.
I didn't understand that part, but I loved it because one of them like smacks a man in the head.
I guess that was Dracula just being like, "Look,
it's gross."
Yeah. I will say, this show has a certain amount of. Although I like this show a lot, there are points where it's a little bit too edgelordy for me.
For sure, especially in the later seasons.
Oh, does it? Okay. I just meant in this episode. Because, like... So this is where the cathedral just, like, erupts in flame. And Dracula appears in the sky to tell them he can't believe how dumb they are. It's like, I gave you a year!
I literally told you I was going to do this!
Yeah. And I guess, like, nobody left.
I bet that old woman did.
I hope so. But yeah, his castle erupts from the ground and the doors open and gargoyles come out. I wrote that these were gargoyles in my notes, and then I thought, they're probably actual enemies. I better look up what they're really called. And they're called gargoyles.
Yeah.
So it was fine. And the monsters just, like, straight up start shredding people.
Yeah.
And
there's guts everywhere.
It's very graphic. I wasn't expecting it to be as graphic as it was. It doesn't go on for very long, so it doesn't feel too...
egregious?
I guess.
Excessive?
I guess I'm thinking more like exploitative. Because to me, like, whenever stuff like this starts happening, I'm always like, okay, yeah, you just couldn't control yourselves, huh? You just had to make sure everyone knew this was for big old grown-ups. And I don't know, a lot of the time I have a very, like, less is more approach to stuff like this. I think it can be more powerful not to show it.
Yeah, that's an internal debate that I have all the time. Not that I'm ever really like, yeah, we need lots of senseless gore, but, like, maybe it has its time and its place. But
Yeah.
I'm with you. For the most part, less is more.
Yeah, I do think, like you said, there's a time and a place when it is better to show it. This one I'm kind of on the fence about. I don't know if it's more or less to show it here, but they showed it, so
Yeah.
that's the
So
choice
what does
they
it
made.
matter what we think?
Yeah. So we see a bunch of people get all shredded up. And I had already had this debate with myself about the gore. But then we get this scene in a little tavern.
This is where I didn't really know how to react.
So-
I think a part of my soul left my body.
For the gore, I was on the fence about whether it was necessary or not. I was kind of like, okay, it's fine though. But then
This was not necessary.
Then we got to this part, and this is just edgelording for edgelording's sake.
Uh-huh.
We have a very long, completely unnecessary, extended conversation where a man tells us in no uncertain terms this whole story about how someone in town has been fucking his goat behind his back.
Like, nasty, gross.
And it goes on for so long.
But what am I supposed to do when I find my goat laying on his side in the field, fat within an inch of its life, and a naked man with blood and straw all over his peg? Hit him with a shovel!
There are much better and more subtle ways you could tell us that these people are uneducated hicks.
And then they cap it off with, like, letting us know that they're all inbred as well.
Look, we might have had the same father, but you came out of my aunt.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
It was a bit much. A bit much.
I would have rather they extended the slaughtering. I would have rather seen more gore than had this scene. Well, but you know, it is what it is. I feel like it's way more information than we needed to know about these bit characters.
It is, because it gave us graphic, gory details.
And these are just nobodies.
We will never see them again.
No. Gladly. We will gladly never see them again. It felt like a wild thing to waste so much time on.
Yeah.
But during this, you know, they took out a whole character from this story.
Right, they couldn't give us Grant Dynasty, but they could give us someone having sex with a goat.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, they got to, again, like I said, they got to make sure we know that this isn't for small children. And how do you do that? Bestiality and inbreeding. Incest, I guess, is the word I'm looking for.
I wish it weren't so accurate.
But anyway, Trevor is here at the back of the room. Just trying to enjoy a drink. I would have left. I would have walked out if this conversation was going on.
I would have vomited directly on them and then left.
Trevor only gets one line in this episode, and it's when somebody runs in to the tavern to warn them about the Hell Army that's heading in this direction. And what time they could use to get a head start on running away, they instead use to shit talk the big families in the country.
Yeah, well, because they say that the Hell Army is retribution for all of these bougie families that lived in Targa Vista.
Yes, Targa Vista, yes.
And that includes the Belmont family.
Yes, he says especially the Belmonts. He says,
We should have killed all the Belmonts.
At which point, Trevor hides his face and says his only line. Trevor is played by Richard Armitage, who is apparently best known for playing Thorin in the Hobbit movies. He also plays Francis Dolarhyde in Hannibal, Lucas North in Spooks, and the one thing I recognized him from, he is the guy who murdered the scientist who created Captain America in the first Captain America movie.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's a shame that Trevor... I think this is a good introduction for Trevor. I liked the way they did it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a shame that he doesn't appear more in this episode just so that we could talk more about him.
Yeah, and less about goats.
Yeah, but, you know, that's just the nature of our show. We'll come back to this show eventually and we'll get to see more of Trevor. And Alucard. But that's the end for now.
We finally put an end to the madness.
We did. A choir sings over the credits. Which I guess was fitting, but I didn't like it. I don't like choirs. I don't like Christian choir music.
I like it when it is used for the Gothic like this. I like the perversion of Christian iconography for Gothic stuff.
That's fair. I guess they had some like good choir stuff that I liked in Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it. And I also love the scene in Home Alone where the choir singing fades into the setting the trap music. That's real good.
That has a lot to do with the perversion of Christian iconography.
It sure does.
Gothic aesthetics.
Yeah, well, because he's
setting American Gothic.
He's setting traps. He's making them out of Christmas tree ornaments. He's taking these symbols of the holiday season and turning them into a source of pain. I love Home Alone.
I never knew that about you.
It's the only Christmas movie I like. Oh, I guess we determined that Hook is a Christmas movie, didn't we? I like Hook as well.
I always forget.
Hook is a Christmas movie because, like, one scene at the beginning takes place during Christmas. I guess it's like the first 20 minutes of the movie take place during Christmas.
Yeah.
But then you forget about all that.
Until he comes back from Neverland and it's snowing.
That's true. But I think it's New Year by that point.
Is it? It's been a while since I've seen that.
I think so. I think like they miss Christmas. I think they're gone over Christmas. And then by the time they get back, all the decorations are gone. And it's just snowy.
I guess I just kind of assumed that they were trapped temporally while he was away in Neverland.
I've had that thought and I've like watched the movie with that in mind. But no, they actually do like establish that they've been gone for a while.
Yeah, I guess it would have to be the case because when Peter keeps coming back, Wendy keeps getting older.
Yeah, I guess so. It's not the case in the book, though. Because in the original book, they definitely are back in their bedrooms, like, the same night their parents left.
Nobody even knows the trauma their children have endured.
No. Or maybe I read the book a couple years ago and I already don't remember. Maybe it's just the Disney movie where they get back before their parents return from the gala or wherever they went to.
Disney doesn't count. Disney takes all the fun parts out.
Right? Disney... I hate Disney's version of Peter Pan. The version in the book I find really interesting because he's kind of scary. But what makes Peter Pan scary is that he is like an innocent child, but that means that he has no concept of death. So like when other lost boys die, he's just like, oh, they went away. And he doesn't understand that they're dead. And that's why he has the lost boys doing this dangerous stuff like fighting pirates. Because he
has no object permanence.
Yeah, exactly. He has no concept that they're dying. And there's a scene in the book where it's noted that like Wendy hears Peter crying at night. And it's never really delved into, but just that little detail makes him such a more interesting character to me. And all of that stuff is just left out of the Disney version.
But you know where he does cry? In the movie Hook.
That's true. Hook is a better adaptation of the book than the Disney version is. Because the Disney version doesn't even include my favorite line, which is, I don't know if
You're an old fat grandpa man?
No, that's a good line too, though, but that one's not from the book. No, I believe the line is, dark and sinister man, have at thee. Like, that's an actual line from the book, and it's used in Hook, but it isn't used in the Disney movie. It's a shame, because it's a funny line. Anyway, we're not supposed to be talking about Peter Pan right now.
Who would win in a fight, Dracula or Hook?
Oh, don't make me choose. Well, Dracula has the magic, and Hook is kind of a bumbling fool.
All right, Hook and Smee.
Which Smee, though? Are we saying Bob Hoskins Smee?
Yes.
I think Bob Hoskins Smee would see how things are shaken out and would switch sides.
Can you imagine fighting Smee in Dracula's castle?
Yes. Some of the other stuff, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me that much if Hook was a boss fight in Castlevania. We've got Frankenstein. You know, we've got these other literary villains showing up.
Yeah. In the Inverted Library in Symphony of the Night, it's just full of Wizard of Oz characters
Is
and
it?
Shmoo.
That's incredible.
It's got a lion that has like a claw and he attacks you. It has a scarecrow that bounces around at you.
Okay.
And it has a crazy Tin Man that wheels his axe around.
Okay, yeah, so I'm definitely thinking that Hook would not be out of place in a Castlevania game. Now that we've come to the end, I feel like I need to be talking about a dub, but I don't. Because didn't this... I remembered this as being an anime, but it's not. But it feels like one.
It feels like one, but it was released in English.
It was, yeah, and it was fully made in America.
Part of why I put off watching it for so long was because I thought it was an anime, and I was like, oh, I have to dedicate the time to reading the subtitles. Like, that's something I need to put in my schedule. And my roommate's like, no, it's in English.
Yeah. You've watched it before, right? You've only seen the first 2 seasons?
Yes.
Okay. I believe... I thought I had watched the entire first season, but after watching this again, I think I might have only watched this one before. And I'm wondering if last time I tried to watch it, I was just so put off by the goat fucking part that I just didn't continue.
Now, why would that stop you?
But I do want to watch the rest. I did enjoy this. I want to know more about Trevor's story. I would be more interested if it was Richter or Simon, because those are the 2 characters I actually know. But I guess they began from the beginning of the timeline, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they will work their way all the way up and do the whole thing. Maybe eventually we'll get the Castlevania that had the motorbiking skeletons.
If only.
I think that was Castlevania 64.
Oh, no, never mind.
Is that a bad one? I don't know anything about them.
I've tried to play it, and it's difficult.
Nah. But maybe the story's fine. Like, maybe you'd like it as a show.
Maybe. That's the one where the main character is a werewolf, right?
It might be, or is it the one with the girl with the rings that she throws? I can't remember.
No, I'm pretty sure it's the werewolf man.
Okay. Well, I'm interested. I want to play... Having watched this, I actually want to play the games more now. I want to see how this stacks up.
So, like, all of the ones that came out on the DS were good, fun times. All of the ones that were on the Game Boy Advance... Well, I never got into Harmony of Dissonance, but Circle of the Moon and Aria of Sorrow, which have been re-released, are very fun.
Okay. I remember getting the running commentary from the Game Boy Advance ones when you were playing them.
I played a lot of Circle of the Moon.
Which was the one with the bear suits or whatever it was, where you were turning into bears?
That was Circle of the Moon.
Okay, that's the one I have the most memories of you telling me about.
When I learned about that secret bear ring...
And then
But Aria of Sorrow also had a lot of fun stuff. I think the teddy bear was in Aria as well as Dawn of Sorrow, where you swing a teddy bear like a mace.
Oh, that's fun. You know, I have no legacy stuff to talk about with this show because it's still too new.
And Konami don't make games anymore.
Yeah, and Konami don't make games anymore, so I don't know. Maybe they made a pachinko machine out of this show. Who knows? What happened? I wish Konami would start making games again.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence, though, because I don't want them to make Metal Gear games without Kojima. But I'd like some more, like, Twinbee. I'd like some more the guy who does Castlevania has basically just started doing his own thing, right? Like the spiritual sequel.
The name, I'm looking for it as we speak because the name has just flown out of my brain.
Is it Bloodstained?
Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, I think?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Oh, nope. That's the one I already have. Curse of the Moon is also one of them.
Oh, I didn't know there were two now.
It's, they did like an 8-bit side game.
Okay.
That's what there's 2 Curse of the Moons.
Wow.
But I think they are working on a second of the main series game.
Okay. There's 2 Curses of the Moon.
The moon has been cursed twice, yes.
I feel like there's more that we have to talk about, but I don't think there is. I think we've covered it all. Can you think of anything else?
I'm looking up Bloodstained to see if there's a second one coming out.
Hopefully.
IGN says that there is.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Bloodstained was pretty fun. It felt like good old-fashioned Castlevania.
Good.
Felt a lot like the Sorrow games in particular, when you collected souls and got powers that way.
I have been loving how a lot of these creators who want to make games and aren't being allowed are just finding avenues to do it off their own initiative instead of waiting for the companies.
Because especially for Castlevania, they know that there's a fan base. There's people willing to pay for it.
Oh yeah, I don't know what Konami's problem is.
I don't know either.
I think it's literally just that like Pachinko machines make more money, so they've decided to stop bothering with anything else.
Yeah, probably.
Like, I'm so mad about that Silent Hill that Kojima and Guillermo del Toro were making.
It would have been so good.
Like, I can't believe those are 2 of the biggest names in 2 like respective industries, and they just cut it. And Del Toro's still mad about it. I saw recently that he apparently had said he's still angry.
Good for him, because that playable trailer achieved godlike status.
Yeah.
They removed it from the store, and people are like, even the trailer was good enough to keep.
Oh my god. Let me see what the current going rate is. Because you can get, if you have a PS3 that still has that demo installed, you can get a lot of money for it.
I bet you can.
Let me see. PS3 with PT demo, eBay. Let's see. $1,359. Oh, that's Canadian.
Jeez. Oh, that's not real money.
Oh, okay. US dollars, it's $999.99.
See, that's so much more affordable.
And that's before bidding as well, I think. Or is that what it's sold for? Or is it for sale right now? I don't know. I don't know how eBay works.
Buy now option.
There is a buy it now option. That seems to be all there is. So I guess you can't bid on it. How does eBay work? I thought you had to bid on things.
I guess you don't have to. There's always the option to buy it now, but obviously people are trying to bid to get a lower price.
I don't even see an option to bid here.
Then I guess you can't bid on it.
But yeah, that's a lot more than I paid for my PS3. I think we paid maybe $100 for my PS3.
No one cares about the PS3. You're paying that for PT.
Yeah, I guess so. So I think there was an update recently that meant that if your PS3 is connected to the internet, it will actually delete the PT demo.
That's
if you had it.
Draconian.
Yes. It's dumb.
It's pretty awful.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
In this talk about Silent Hill playable trailer.
Wait, is that what PT stood for?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
All these years later.
Yeah, I just learned it now. We're always learning things on this show, and I hope you are too. I hope you learned anything.
Any one thing. That's all I need to keep going. So even if you just want to lie about learning, I won't judge.
Go ahead and comment with whatever the one thing you learned was. in this episode.
Even if you didn't learn it from this show, maybe you just learned it today.
Maybe you learned it while you were listening to this show. Comment below. Like and subscribe while you're at it, if you feel like it. That's what's called a call to action.
You've done it, you madman.
You could also, if you want, you could become a patron of the show at patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub, where you can find additional content that I didn't put in the episode.
Or you could become a patron of the arts. You know, just for fun.
It's true. You can find us at coffee.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub if you like coffee and buying people coffee. I could go for a coffee. Would you like a coffee,
I've
Mel?
been dying for coffee lately.
I'll probably get a hot chocolate instead, but you know, it's the same principle, really.
It's not. It's not called hot coffee.
You can find us on Twitter at sbreakfastfc. And thank you to our current patrons, my mother.
I just like that you say patrons plural, and it's always just your mom.
She counts as two. Anyway, bye.
We shat that one out.